Hello, I'm Coach Christian, and I help extremely stressed people to deal with their stress by observing it for themselves. Welcome to yet another video, and in this video, I publish a video every single day. And in every video, I provide you with tools and answer a question that you can use to deal with a stressful situation in your life right now or a stressful situation that may arise in the future. All right, let's move into the question of the day. So the question is as follows. Coach Christian, I have observed that I want people to like me. I want my parents, my boss, my husband, even strangers. I want them to like me. Why do I care so much what people think of me? Coach Christian, I have observed that I want people to like me. I want my parents, my boss, my husband, even strangers. I want them to like me. Why do I care so much what people think of me? Yeah, this is a major problem. It's actually it's a trap. It's based on fear, isn't it? When you're so worried about what people think of you, when you care so much, really the reason you care so much what they think of you is because you're afraid, right? You want people to like you because you're afraid of them not liking you, right? This is all. This is like all fear based. I want my boss to approve of me. Why? I'm afraid of my boss not disapproving of me. Right? I've imagined certain consequences that will happen if my boss doesn't approve of me, and because of if my boss doesn't like me. So, okay. I've imagined certain consequences, right? If my boss doesn't approve of me. So, and I've imagined that those consequences are going to be negative. It's going to be terrible. So I better do everything he wants. I better do what I think he would approve of. And this is true of pretty much everything, right? It's like my parents want me to be a certain way. My parents want me to do a certain job. My dad wants me to be an engineer. And I'm going to go and become an engineer because if I don't do what he wants, if I don't become an engineer, maybe he'll never love me anymore. This is all fear based. But the truth is that you don't really know. You don't really know what will happen if you don't do what people. Okay, let's even make it simpler. You don't even know whether people will approve of you or not. You're not sure. I mean, I'm trying to clarify this, just make it clear for us. Let's pick a very specific example. So I don't know. Your parents want you to be an engineer. They're totally invested. That's all they talked about since you were a kid. Be an engineer. Be an engineer. Be an engineer. And you're afraid if I don't become an engineer, they're not gonna love me anymore. They'll not support me. They'll kick me out of the house. My father will never talk to me again. But you don't know that. You don't know what will really happen if you decide, you tell them, I'm not going to be an engineer. Instead, I'm going to what? I'm going to become a financial analyst. Right? Let's say you stick to your guns and you decide, I'm going to be a financial analyst anyways. You're not really sure. Right? You're not really sure how they're going to react. Maybe initially you're right, they're going to be pissed off. But for how long will they be pissed off? Will they really not talk to you? Will they really abandon you? You don't know. Especially if you're someone who's been used to doing everything, let's say your parents wanted you to do. If you're someone like that, you don't really know what's going to happen if you don't do what they want you to do. Right? So you've imagined a certain scary scenario. First of all, you don't even know if it's going to happen. That's the first thing. And also, you're thinking if it happens, you'll not be able to handle it. But you don't know that. I mean, what if you do something your boss doesn't like, right? What's going to happen? Maybe you've calculated that he'll fire you. Maybe he will. But if he fires you, will you be able to handle it? Or you'll realize that you can't actually handle it. And secondly, you might do something, you might take the action thinking the boss is going to disapprove of it, and it turns out they like it, right? Because I mean, let's really get deep on this kind of thing. You're not doing what, let's say, the boss is going to approve of. Let's use parent example. You know, the action you're taking is not the action that your parents will approve of. The action you're taking is the action that you think your parents will approve of. In other words, you've looked at your parents' behavior in the past, you've imagined what they would like and what they wouldn't like. Sometimes it's something they never even talked about, right? You imagine they wouldn't like this. And based on that imagination of what they wouldn't like, you act in that way. So, or you imagine this way. You imagine that your parents would like it if you behaved a certain way without really being sure that they'd even like it. And then you behave that way. Um, I don't know. This one is, I really need to find you a very clear example of this. So it just makes sense. I mean, for instance, I had this kind of scenario happen to me the whole time, right? So I always assumed that if people ask me a question or talk to me, I should reply quickly. Because if I delay to reply or pause, actually, that's not even a good example. I have a better one. Okay, I always imagine that if someone is talking to me, I need to nod and reply as they're speaking, even if they don't ask a question. Like they're describing a story, just to show my agreement, I need to nod and say, yes, uh huh, that's right, yep. I mean, that actually makes sense. I always felt this urge that people wanted me to respond in this way. People wanted me to comment, to nod, to show my approval as they're speaking. This is what I imagined people wanted. They never told me they wanted that. I just imagined that they wanted me to respond in that way. So one day I decided to, when someone was speaking, I decided not to nod, not to show agreement, disagreement, just stay with a calm face, like kind of the one I have now, and just pay total to attention to them as they speak. And what I found out was that what I was afraid of, actually, the people didn't react angrily. The people weren't upset. They just continued talking, right? So I'd imagined this whole time that, wow, if I don't nod and if I don't show agreement as they speak, they're gonna think I'm rude. They're gonna think I don't really care about what they're saying. None of that stuff happened. The people still continued talking. There was no upset on their part. You couldn't see anything. This was all imagined. And this is true with, you probably find it's true with a lot of stuff that you're thinking. Like, if I really say this, nobody will like me, right? Like, if I, I think this also happens in relationships, Like, it also happens a lot with like saying no, right? Someone comes to ask you for money, let's say, and you imagine to yourself, look, if I say no, not gonna love me anymore. They're not gonna care about me. They're gonna hate me. They're gonna think I'm selfish, whatever. And then they come and you say no, or you don't give them the money, and they're like, okay, no big deal. The relationship hasn't been ruined. But in before you imagine that saying no is gonna create all of these things, none of them happened. So these are some of the first things to realize is that the reason you care so much about people's approval is because you are afraid of their disapproval. And in terms of your actions, many a time you might find that you take actions that you don't want to take, but you take the actions because you think people will approve of them. You say things that you think people will approve of, right? So let's say you're having a conversation with someone and you really have nothing to say, or you don't even agree with what they're saying. Instead of keeping quiet or telling them you don't agree, you imagine that if you disagree with them or tell them you don't agree, that's going to destroy the relationship, they're going to be angry at you. And you don't know that. This is just your imagination. You've imagined what would happen, and what you've imagined is not necessarily true. In many cases, you don't know what people would want. In fact, you being fake, pretending to saying things that you think they will like, in fact, that might actually be the thing that's destroying most of your relationships, right? Because one of the most important things when it comes to a relationship between people, let's say, is one of the things I observed to be very important is, I mean, it's obviously, I mean, I found my relationships work better if I'm gentle and kind and don't speak to people in an angry tone, right? So if I'm kind and gentle, I found my relationships work well. But of course, I notice if I'm just kind and gentle and I never communicate what I'm thinking or never talk about problems directly, that ruins a relationship. Right? And at the beginning, I was afraid that if I tell people what the problem is, right? So maybe I mean one of the jobs I used to have was to supervise maids, and let's say the maid has cooked bad food, right? The food is not well cooked, right? Now, I'd already set up a track record of being kind and friendly to them. So I was thinking to myself, I was very hesitant about calling the maid and telling her, look, the food had too much sugar, or the rice was burnt, or there was too much oil in the food. I was kind of afraid of that because I thought suddenly they'll just dislike me. They'll I don't even know what I was afraid of, like kind of they're not gonna love me anymore. They'll think I'm mean. All the kindness I've done will just go away. All these were thoughts and fears I was having. Funny thing is, when I actually spoke directly to, let's say, the maid and told her what the problems were in the food, the consequences were nowhere near as bad as I thought. Sometimes they just agreed and fixed it. Other times, yeah, they'd get upset, but it was always something I can handle. It was never. My mind made me feel like if I do this, I'll never be able to handle the consequences. When in reality, I was able to handle them perfectly fine, right? So you look at, please don't believe anything I'm saying. Just look at your own relationships with people. Um, Look at the many times when you're really worried about what people are thinking of you, and pay attention to why you're worried. Find out if the reason you're worried is not because you're afraid of their disapproval. And also next time, try to find out if what will happen if you do something that people don't want you to do. What will the consequence of that be? And can you handle the consequences? Just pay attention to that and find out. All right, look, if you liked this video, if you found it to be useful, please don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification. Ding, 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 ding. This will notify you whenever I publish another video like this. Um, the other thing that's important is, again, I answer a question every single day. So if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, please add it in the comment section below. Also, just if you have any comment at all, not necessarily a question, add it in the comment section below, because I want to make sure that I'm producing videos that are actually meeting your needs. The only way I can do that is if I know your questions and I know what you're thinking. So please add that in the description of this video. Now, if what I've been saying you found it to be interesting, um, and you want to learn more, you want to have more tools to deal with, let's say, this fear. You want to observe and understand better why you have this fear of what people might think of you. Right, then I do have a tool that you can use. Just go to the description of this video, and there's a link to the Observe approach. If you click on it, you'll get free and instant access to a simple but very powerful method that you can apply immediately to deal with any problem that's stressing you out. In particular, you can apply it to deal with this tendency that you have to, like, worry about what people are thinking of me, trying to gain everybody's approval, etc. And the other thing I do is I work as a relationship coach. So this whole behavior of wanting to win the approval of somebody or being afraid of the disapproval of somebody usually stops people from communicating clearly. And yet a relationship doesn't work well if there's no clear communication, people saying what they feel and what they think, right? So, and this obviously destroys relationships. So for a limited time only, I'm offering a free relationship rescue coaching session. This is an online session. It's specifically designed for people who may be having so much miscommunication, there's so much fakeness, there's so much going wrong in the relationship that the relationship is starting to break down. And they're actually thinking of ending the relationship, or they are afraid that their partner is thinking of ending the relationship. If you're in that boat, then just sign up for the relationship rescue coaching session. Right? In the coaching session, we'll get a crystal clear vision of the kind of happy relationship you want. We'll figure out precisely what is making your relationship break down, and you leave the session renewed, re-energized, and inspired to create the kind of relationship you want, or know when it's time to end the relationship. Um, and to take advantage of this, just go to the description of this video and the relationship rescue coaching session link. Just click on that link, and that will take you to my contact page, and you can send me a message, and someone from the Observe team will be able to get back to you to schedule your spot on the relationship rescue coaching session. This session is only available for a limited time only. Um, Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.